Hey, One Detroit, I'm Christy McDonald, and here's what's coming up this week on the show. It's a small-town perspective in a COVID-19 world. Head into Clawson as we take a look at how business has changed in the downtown, especially restaurants, since COVID. Plus, the creation of freeways in Detroit and around the country as relics of structural racism. And then, how COVID has changed college for good with author Jeffrey Salingo. It's all coming up on One Detroit.
From Delta Faucets to Behr Paint, Masco Corporation is proud to deliver products that enhance the way consumers all over the world experience and enjoy their living spaces. Masco, serving Michigan communities since 1929.
Support for this program provided by the Cynthia and Etzel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV.
The Kresge Foundation. Community Foundation for Southeast Michigan.
The DTE Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit Public TV, among the state's largest foundations committed to Michigan-focused giving. We support organizations that are doing exceptional work in our state. Visit dtefoundation.com to learn more.
Business Leaders for Michigan, dedicated to making Michigan a top 10 state for jobs, personal income, and a healthy economy. Nissan Foundation. Ally. And viewers like you.
Hi there and welcome to One Detroit. I'm Christy McDonald. Thanks so much for joining me. We are taking a break from politics and bringing you some of our favorite stories and interviews and a little bit of music at the end. Coming up, college during COVID. I talk with higher ed journalist and author Jeffrey Salingo on what has permanently changed for colleges and admission. Plus, the history behind freeways in Detroit and around the country as symbols of structural racism. And we all cheered on the Detroit Youth Choir when they wowed the judges on America's Got Talent, so we'll end with their performance of Roar at Marygrove. It is all just ahead. We're starting off with our continuing series on a small town during COVID-19. We wanted to see how one city and its local businesses and restaurants had to change and survive the pandemic, so we chose Clawson in Oakland County. One Detroit senior producer Bill Kubota and One Detroit editor Chris Jordan take a look at how Clawson's restaurants are holding their own as we head into fall. More home delivery, more outdoor seating, take-home cocktails, and the grand opening of a cornerstone spot. You could call it innovation or just survival.
Hey, thank you.
Restaurant owner Charlie Sampson out for a food run. Business as usual during a pandemic.
Then it made us really innovators in the sense of restaurant, we can't sell food here, so how can we sell the most food out of our carry-out to go? We jumped on delivery, all the other stuff that we could do, so.
All this just had to be after the shutdown this spring.
I think our businesses have been so adaptable. Every punch that's come along, they've rolled with it, figured out, but that's what entrepreneurs do, and that's what small business owners do. You know, they figure out how they're going to get through the next hurdle.
Thank you.
Sampson's a Clawson native running what was the Montage Grill, renaming it Whiskey Taco Foxtrot.
When did you buy the place?
So we took it over March 7th, which was impeccable timing for starting a new business and rolling into a pandemic of sorts.
Charlie told us that, much to his surprise, the business has been really good since the shutdown ended.
Same with the others we've been talking to. Part of it is the outdoor seating. They're putting in as much as they can to offset the 50% seating capacity limitation. What do you think about dining al fresco, Chris?
I really like it. It feels like a much safer alternative to eating inside right now, and it gives these restaurants a chance to bring people back. Whether it's new places like Whiskey Taco Foxtrot that are trying sort of a new spin on their cuisine. I tried the blackened tilapia taco and it was great. Or whether it's old school classics like Tavern on the Main that's been a mainstay of downtown Clawson forever, serving just a really great classic burger. What's it been like during these last few months dealing with the pandemic?
It was a little difficult. We were open for carry-out curbside service, but you know what? They are so loyal to us. They wanted to keep us in business, and yes, we would get a lot of the repeating customers coming here, once, twice, maybe even 3 times a week to order carry-out and curbside service just to keep us going.
Then there's White Wolf on 14 Mile, the Japanese French-style patisserie opened in January. With the shutdown, Doran Brooks wasn't just selling pastries curbside, he offered baking flour and chickens. Hard to get items at the time, working through the crisis the best he could.
What we did here at White Wolf was say, okay, now that we're slowed way down, it gives us a chance to look at what was working, what wasn't working, what the guests really liked, what they didn't like, and we could make all those adjustments during that period.
White Wolf's connected to Noble Fish, the Japanese food store and sushi bar, but Brooks was looking at another market, high-end cocktails. Have them here or to go.
People can come in and get their drinks, and as long as they don't open the beverage until they get home, they can take it to go.
Back on Main Street, there's Kave, specializing in Turkish coffee. Been here for 6 years. With the pandemic, owner Anna Bureau reduced staff and shortened hours of operation, but working more hours herself.
So far, it's been very good as long as we keep it this way. And in my mind, we're going through the worst of the pandemic. If it doesn't get worse, we should make it okay.
Brenna Hauk, editor for Eater Detroit, estimates restaurants running at maybe 30 to 60% across the region because of the pandemic, but there's a glimmer of a bright side to this in places like Clawson.
One of the interesting and maybe nice things about dining right now during COVID is that it has become much more of a neighborhood-focused dining experience. People are more comfortable staying closer to home than they once were.
Staying and working from home, it stands to reason. If you're not working downtown, you're not eating so much down there either.
What do you call it, the street party or?
The open-air street fair.
Open-air street?
Mid-August, something to shake off the COVID malaise, organized by Clawson's Downtown Development Authority. Mary Liz Curtin owns the Leon and Lulu store and Three Cats restaurant.
And it is the first time I've ever hired a performer and said, don't draw a crowd. If you get too many people around you, shoo them away, run on your long, long legs, but make them all happy from a distance.
So we looked at what could we do, and with the COVID restrictions, how do we keep people moving? And so this is one time where our spread out downtown worked for us.
It's a chance just to go out and smile and have a good time. I don't know if we can do our big Halloween event this year, but we can do this little funny one. It's very small, very low key, in a tall way.
The street fair provided a look inside Clawson's newest restaurant, Puma Chug, at the prime corner of 14 and May. By late August, owners Andrea and Tyler Williams held a soft opening.
Back in the 1800s, the corner that we're on now was a sawmill. Down the street across the other corner, there was a cider mill as well. As people were coming through the town to go to work in Detroit, the noise of the mills made a, quote, Pumachug, Pumachug, Pumachug sound. So this area was nicknamed Pumachug and the Corners.
The Williamses are new to the restaurant business, but they did market research, a citywide survey of what residents want.
It sounds silly to talk about, but when we first came up with this idea, it was a Friday night where we switched from I hope somebody does something cool at this corner to let's do it. Yeah. We came up with this probably stupid idea. We watched all of the Restaurant Impossibles, and we just
Bar Rescue
binge watched all of those, trying to scare ourselves away from making kind of a stupid decision. Who wants to open a restaurant, right?
But it didn't work.
No, we made it through the weekend and all the horror stories you see there, and we're like, we think we can do this.
That was 9 months ago. This past week, you couldn't get in without a reservation.
Opening a restaurant's like having a baby. When it's time to open it, you open it. It doesn't matter if there's a pandemic. It doesn't matter if there's a recession. Once you put all that time in, it's got to come out. So we wish them the best. It's delightful inside, and they're so smart and they're charming. We think it's going to be good.
Puma Chug's biggest challenge now, finding more cooks. They have to close on Mondays to give their chef a break.
I think you can probably look at almost every restaurant now and find that they're all asking for help.
Some of the shortage might be people sitting this out, collecting unemployment. Then there's still the fear of catching the virus. It really is a cost-benefit problem.
The reality is that restaurant workers who are going back now, they're just not making the same money that they were before. They're serving fewer customers because of the lowered capacity. If they're a tipped employee, they're not making as much in tips as they used to.
Talking to Eater Detroit's Brenna Hauk, she sees even more lost with the pandemic. Wearing those masks removes a lot of the personal connections servers have with their guests. So she says people tend to tip less.
Yeah, we'll have to see if that's the case here in Clawson, but these restaurants have an even more pressing concern right now with the weather. Pumichog really expanded their patio space to get as much outdoor dining as possible, but with fall rapidly approaching, who knows how long that'll last.
Right, and can you really enjoy your veggie burger and truffle fries out there if the gales of November come early? And there's a whole lot of other restaurants in that same boat.
We have one of the largest patios in the area, so that's what's saving us right now because we have to go 50%.
Right.
And I don't know what's going to happen come winter. I mean, we'll get heaters and try to keep it as warm as possible and push it through November. But it's not enclosed because when we talked about enclosing the patio, the clientele and the customers were like, no, don't do that. We like the fresh air and stuff.
We get to a spot where it's, we got to take that risk. We have to try to normalize a little bit of what the situation is, and we have to move forward.
The smell of this?
Yeah.
Right? So good, even with the mask on.
And I think there's going to be those people that want to do it and those people that are hungry enough to do it. And I encourage them to come out and know that there's a good network of restaurant owners and chefs down here that are like, hey, we're here to see you succeed, because the more success you have, the more success we'll have.
This is such a cliche, but I do believe we will be stronger than we were before, because people are learning to appreciate now what we have. People are learning to appreciate the family-owned businesses too. And because they know we struggle just as much as they do.
We've been talking a lot about higher education, college and universities in a COVID-19 world, not just the remote learning, but how that changes the value of the education as well, and how the pandemic really is a disruptor. I was reading a recent column that talked about the future of college admissions, and it mentioned a new book out called Who Gets In and Why? A Year Inside College Admissions. And the author is journalist Jeffrey Salinga, who joins me now. Jeffrey, it's good to see you.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
You've been writing about higher ed for over 20 years. I'd like to get a big picture from your perspective of how COVID has really changed college and maybe perhaps altered the future of higher ed.
Well, I think one big way it's changed it is that now many students are living off campus, taking classes remotely. And one of the things that colleges have always sold is the idea of residential education in a specific location. But when you're online, you kind of lose both of those things. You not only lose the residential piece, living and eating and socializing with your friends, but you're also losing the idea that you're going to college most often in a specific location, whether it's a city or a rural area or a specific state. And colleges have sold both of those things as kind of the ideal of American higher education. In terms of admissions, probably the biggest change right now is more than 400 colleges and universities have gone test optional over the summer, largely because it's practically impossible right now, especially for high school seniors, to take the SAT or ACT.
Does this change now where students are going to want to go, especially since we're looking at how much college costs these days?
Number one, I think students are going to stay closer to home, particularly if the pandemic continues, because I think parents don't want them far off if they're going to have to be stuck coming home at the last minute or on a dime. The second thing I think is you're going to see many more students considering public colleges or local community colleges, at least to get their start. Community colleges really offer a low cost option, particularly if you're going to be online. You might as well be online close to home anyway. And many of those courses could transfer.
Are you going to start to see colleges and universities have to offer more in a different way? Is it going to be different things to try to differentiate themselves from all of the other universities and colleges that are aiming for the attention of students?
First of all, I think online education in some form or fashion is here to stay. We're going to see a lot more hybrid education, meaning even when the pandemic is over, I think elements of what we've been through over the last couple of months with online education is going to be here to stay. I think students and parents are going to be looking for colleges that provide them a job after graduation. And what are the activities during college that help prepare them for a job? Internships, project-based learning, other types of hands-on co-op programs and things like that, that get students into the workplace, out of the classroom. I think parents and students are going to be looking, especially in this economy, for those colleges that help prepare them for the workforce afterwards.
Are we going to see colleges shut down?
Yeah, we're already seeing some colleges shut down. I think we will see an increase. I think we're going to see some colleges merge. But colleges are pretty resilient places over time. Many of them have lasted centuries and much longer than many Fortune 500 companies.
So this brings us now down the road to admissions. What do colleges and universities have to do now to try to recruit, to try to get eyeballs onto their school?
You know, it's very hard right now because most of the recruiting in higher education is person to person. They have open houses on weekends and they do the college tour. They have admissions officers fan out across the country visiting high schools. None of that is happening right now. In some ways, though, I think this is actually a better time to search for colleges because you're not limited by geography. There are now a ton of virtual programs. There's a lot of students who have recorded these great videos on YouTube showing a day in the life of their colleges. You have admissions officers now who can't travel, and so they're in their offices doing Zoom meetings, having calls with students. So in many ways, if you're a student looking at colleges, you can have a much broader perspective now on what might be a good fit for you.
As the country grapples with racism and monuments to the past, we wanted to take a look at the history of freeway building, not only here in Detroit, but around the country. Freeways are considered by some to be relics of structural racism when you look at why and where they were constructed. One Detroit associate producer Will Glover has the story.
You could look at any other part of the country and you would say you can't have a strong region without a strong city. Right? I would say the racism here was so deep that they were willing to kill the city in spite of themselves.
Detroit, the crossroads of half the population of the United States, is but minutes away.
Starting in the late 1950s, construction on the I-75 and I-375 highways cut through some of Detroit's most prosperous black neighborhoods of Black Bottom and Paradise Valley, which rivaled New York's Harlem and Tulsa, Oklahoma's Black Wall Street. Thousands were displaced, erasing generations of wealth. Some call these highways Detroit's largest monument to racism. This is Detroit historian Jamon Jordan.
Historically, the building of these freeways affected the whole country. It didn't just affect Detroit. But largely, one of the major areas that they affected almost everywhere they went was African American communities.
But could there be a way to rebuild the wealth and opportunity for the next generation of Black Detroiters? I spoke with freelance writer Nithin Vijendala, whose recent article on Detroit highways being racist appeared in the Detroit Free Press.
Start with how a freeway could possibly be a symbol of racism.
So you look at the construction of the freeways, and they were routed primarily through Black neighborhoods, because at that time, and still even now, Black communities had less power, had less political power to be able to resist these kind of really disruptive changes. And because of racist redlining policies, land and houses and homes in Black neighborhoods were worth far less than homes in white neighborhoods.
The winner of the Detroit wasn't the only city being dissected by highways. In fact, the man who set the national trend for city planning started in New York City. His name was Robert Moses.
Robert Moses, New York City construction coordinator, is a world-famous highway planner, a man who knows his business.
In a 1974 biography, it was said Moses suggested suburbs make the water in their community pools colder to keep Black people from swimming with whites. Closer to home, it was Detroit Mayor Albert Cobo who put together the plans to build the freeways that in 1956 would decimate Black Bottom and Paradise Valley.
Now, there are arguments, did he do it because he's a racist and Detroit is Black, what was left of a Black community, or did he do it because it was the most feasible place to put a freeway? And so arguments go both ways, but looking at the history of Cobo, his acts, his policies, and his ideas about the African American community, it's pretty clear that this was not a coincidence.
This is Wayne State University law professor and director of the Damon J. Keith Center for Civil Rights, Peter Hammer.
Think about structural racism and think about how structural racism is defined at the Keith Center. We're looking at the interinstitutional dynamics that produce and reproduce racially disparate outcomes over time. When the freeways were started, everybody thought this, white people particularly, thought this is development. And it was also thought of necessary for part of a national plan of interstate networks, and also for the creation and cohesion of the suburbs. Now you have to sort of imagine that that's the city of underwriting its own demise, right? So the expressways were thought, well, these are easy ways for Detroiters to go out to the suburbs and come back. There are also easy ways for Detroiters to go out to the suburbs and never come back.
Sleeves rolled up, Detroit levels and shifts and carves the contours of a new city. And a new spirit of progress matches the vision of its people.
What was I-75 before it was I-75, right? And it was Hastings Street. And Hastings Street ran up and down Paradise Valley, which was the most important and most concentrated African-American business district and living district anywhere in the city. So Tulsa has got a lot of attention lately for very legitimate reasons. And they called that the Black Wall Street, and that was destroyed by a race riot. Detroit's Black Wall Street was destroyed by quote-unquote development and the construction of the expressways and the destruction of Paradise Valley. And people who run up and down I-75 today have no clue.
Detroit is borrowing funds to build more miles of expressway and build them today instead of years from now.
The question now, can Detroit reverse the process? That is, remove freeways. Cities like Milwaukee and San Francisco already have.
You look at San Francisco's Embarcadero Freeway was heavily damaged in an earthquake in 1970. Instead of repairing it, they simply just removed it. And when they did that, traffic didn't significantly increase. It didn't cause massive traffic jams, and it significantly improved quality of life for a lot of people.
I spoke with civic engagement expert and dean of the School of Architecture at the University of Detroit Mercy, Dan Patera.
What is the economic impact, to the extent that you can speak on it, of undertaking such a project?
Think about what a scale of a project like this would do, and think about the numbers, the thousands of jobs that could truly be generated across the decade of time. From planning, engineering, surveying, it really is we're talking thousands upon thousands of jobs that are possible, which then means that we have to then not just plan for the jobs, but plan for the preparing and working with people to be ready for those jobs.
The Michigan Department of Transportation was to soon start the removal of I-375 in downtown Detroit, but the project was delayed because of the pandemic.
Do you think that removing the highways is an opportunity to address some of these, historically, systemically racist issues?
No, I don't think you could make any credible connection to removing highways in today and undoing the harm that was done.
The filling in of I-375 it's not harming the African-American community, but it won't bring Black Bottom back.
Many believe that undoing the damage to Black American communities in cities like Detroit means investing in Black neighborhoods at the same scale and with the same resolve white suburbs received during urban renewal.
It's just a matter of who has the power. Which means that at the end of the day, if you're not changing the belief system, right, the sort of highly racialized belief system that have created this history, then you have no chance of digging yourself out of the hole. So a lot of effort has to be of really intentionally reshaping the white mind, right, in a way that can transcend the sort of white supremacist heritage that we have received.
Regarding that stretch of freeway connecting the Chrysler Freeway to the downtown riverfront, I-375, what some can't help but see as a major symbol of racism will remain for a few more years. Maybe then the many millions of dollars needed will return to state coffers, allowing for it to be filled in and receive a proper burial.
For more on all of our special reports and our daily interviews, we'll always keep you up to speed. Follow us on social media at One Detroit and find us at onedetroitpbs.org. All right, I think we all need to take a deep breath this week and feel some inspiration. So I'm going to leave you with a performance. The Detroit Youth Choir singing Katy Perry's Roar. It was recorded at Marygrove. Enjoy it, and I'll see you next week.
I used to bite my tongue and hold my breath, scared to rock the boat and make a mess. So I sat quietly, agreed politely. Always laughed, but God, I had a choice. I let you push me past the breaking point. I stood for nothing, so I
You can find more at onedetroitpbs.org or subscribe to our social media channels and sign up for our One Detroit newsletter.
From Delta Faucets to Behr Paint, Masco Corporation is proud to deliver products that enhance the way consumers all over the world experience and enjoy their living spaces. Masco, serving Michigan communities since 1929.
Support for this program provided by the Cynthia and Etzel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV.
The Kresge Foundation. Community Foundation for Southeast Michigan.
The DTE Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit Public TV, among the state's largest foundations committed to Michigan-focused giving. We support organizations that are doing exceptional work in our state. Visit dtefoundation.com to learn more.
Business Leaders for Michigan, dedicated to making Michigan a top 10 state for jobs, personal income, and a healthy economy. Nissan Foundation, Ally, and viewers like you.